Sounds good. So am I recording? Let's see. Yes, I am. So that would be the first part of this segment today. It's me saying, am I recording? Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody filing in. I'm coming to you from the Northeast, where it is raining and snowing at the same time. I don't know where everybody else is. Maybe in the chat when you guys come in, you can let us know where you're logging in from. But we want to welcome everybody, and we're going to get started in just a second. And if you can, we just as a disclaimer, we are recording this, and it's going to end up on the Arkana YouTube page. So act accordingly. That doesn't mean that you have to act accordingly, but now you know. But we'd love to see your faces if you can. So if you could turn your videos on. Malcolm's in Tulum. Oh, I'm jealous. Very jealous. I'd love to be in Tulum right now. I got to get out to Tulum to get my new harp at some point. All right. So yeah, so if everybody could, consider turning their videos on so we can see your lovely faces. It's going to be relevant in this session to acknowledge what it's like for all of us to be here. We're going to be talking about the present moment. So whatever you think being present means, act accordingly. So I want to welcome everybody. We're going to get started. My name is Dr. J.C. Dornick. Some know me as the Dragon. And my life was profoundly changed years ago when I first went from my first experience with Arkana. Things have never been the same in a good way. And I've just found a new home. I live an interesting life. I know a lot of people. I have a popular podcast and I run a big company, and that's my quote unquote normal life over here. But this has become my family. Billy and Jose and Valeria and people like Malcolm, just can't get enough of them. Billy and I often talk just about we're starting to plan the next time I'm going to come back. And we realize that we can do a lot of this work from home. But when you go to an Arkana retreat, it's kind of like, I don't remember how Billy put it, but like something regarding where the magic happens or where the magic people are or something like that. So anyway, it's good to see all of your faces. And what we do is we meet about once a month and we address the idea of the integration process. That's one of the things that makes Arkana very unique. I combed all over the world to find the organization or the experience that I wanted to go to. And something drew me to Arkana, and it was a good idea. But I just noticed, and I keep noticing what makes Arkana different. And this group right here is an example of it. It's, I remember I heard Jose at one of the retreats just saying something like it's only a small percentage of the transformation, you could say, happens at the retreat with the medicine. Most of the work happens after when we come home. And isn't that true? So if you could, maybe in the chat, just so I get an idea, because we always invite guests to be here. I see Orsi is coming in from LA. Let me know if anybody is here for the first time and kind of on the outside looking in. Maybe you're waiting to go on your first trip, or maybe you just got back from your first trip. Love to just know a little bit more about who's here right now, because that'll just help us make sure that we serve you guys well. And a late happy Valentine's Day to all of you, because we haven't seen each other since there. I see Lexi just got back from South America this week, but my retreat was Amazon January. Very nice. Very nice experience there in the Amazon. So Billy and I were always kind of coming up with some sort of a relevant integration-like topic that'll help us expand our minds and follow up on, our promise to ourselves. And we decided to talk about the idea of living in the present moment, but the nature of our conversations are typically a little bit extraordinary, right? I mean, like everybody here probably has some sort of a experience or desire or struggle with, living in the present moment. But I thought we would kind of put a little bit of a twist, as we like to, just to kind of give you guys a different insight, allow you to gain access to a different perspective. What we notice is that things are not always what they seem. One of the primary tenets that I coach in and I live by is that it's when we change the way we look at things that the things that we look at change. I heard that first from Wayne Dyer. So I hope that this discussion today will help you guys change the way you look at things. So welcome to any guests that are here for the first time. And remember something, maybe that's a big part of the integration process, is to pay it forward and share something like as beautiful as this with others, which can be a confusing thing. So let me get started. And then we're going to open up, we'll hear some words from Billy and some of the other Arkana folks. And I'm going to just, Billy, if you can go around, let me see. I'm going to make sure you have the ability. Just if somebody comes unmuted and we get background noise, you can take care of that. If they can see it. All right. So I do a almost daily blog on a platform called Substack. And, I invite you guys to all engage in it. It's free. And I very often I talk about topics like this, but I integrate my plant medicine experience. This is going to be like an excerpt from something that's going to go on my Substack probably on Wednesday, and it'll be a podcast episode as well. So I call this, ironically, the art of not thinking. I asked myself the other day, Billy, is it okay if I allow myself every now and then to not have a thought about something? Because I start to notice that resembles to some degree living in the present moment. So here's the part I wrote about us in this blog. So I said, one of the most fascinating aspects of working with plant medicine is recognizing the time frame. So for those of you that have experienced sitting with grandmother, just to notice the time frame in which the experience is taking place. Now, what I mean by time frame is, if we broke it into three different choices, is it happening in the historical past, right? We say the past is a history, or the mysterious future, right? You could have that illusion, or is it occurring, this experience that we have, is it occurring in the only place where true transformation in life exists, which would be what I call the eternal present. I love looking at the present moment as something that's always happening. It happened, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. But we recognize that the past and the future either happened or hasn't, right? But the only thing that's really happening is the present moment. And my experience in working with plant medicine, and this is just an interesting observation, has shown that the plant medicine operates almost entirely in the present moment. So just think about that for a second. Challenge yourself to think about that. It's important that we make the connection of what happens when we're working with plant medicine and when it's happening, right? So it's operating almost entirely in the present moment, and that is a realm that we rarely inhabit fully when we're not with Arkana. So I get a lot of messages, and I know Billy does too, from some people that are in some way or another struggling with the integration process. I get a lot of that, and I know Billy does too. So people, had this amazing experience, but I'm just struggling to make it all gel back home. And that would be the impression that integration is something that we have to take and integrate, normalize in our quote unquote normal baseline life, right? That might be a mistake. So in fact, I've noticed that even when addressing things in the medicine, even when we're addressing things that may have happened in the past and it may involve the past, the medicine actually has this ability to bring the past into the present moment and allow us to experience it through the lens of our new present time sense-making machines. Try to grasp that for a second. I see a little, Amy's got a little like, I think I might agree with that right there. Think about that. So, if you're, I went through a lot of unresolved childhood trauma and things like that. But I noticed that when I was in the medicine, I was acknowledging it through the lens that I have now. And a lot of you guys that don't know me, I wear glasses without lenses. That's how far I've taken that. And that's because I don't need the lenses anymore. I like looking at everything fresh. And I'll tell you something interesting for those of you that want to try. And I've given these glasses out to a lot of people. I can actually see better with these glasses. Like right now, my vision just got blurry. And hand to God, I can see better. So there's a plant medicine thing. So in that space, that we're talking about, I've felt completely untethered, from the stories of my past and the anxieties of my future. Now, I've gone through some tough times in plant medicine, but it had nothing to do with my past and my future. It was a tough time that was happening right in the now, right? And that's about being submerged in a reality that is just simply profound. I mean, it's overwhelming almost, the reality. So here's where the challenge arises with integration. This is the topic that I want to bring up. The challenge with integration is, first of all, I want to note that I'm calling it a challenge, not a problem, because a challenge is something we can decide to accept and work through. I always try to replace the word problem with challenge. But it's a challenge because navigating your integration process may just require an acceptance of that challenge, and that would be to allow yourself to have a shift in perspective. I'm going to invite you guys to have a shift in perspective today. Okay? And for anybody that feels that they're struggling integrating what you experienced over there, this breakthrough or whatever, into this world, I'm going to challenge you and invite you to have a shift in that perspective of what's actually happening. So think about it. When we return home, just like, a spacecraft re-entering this atmosphere, we re-enter this atmosphere that doesn't function in the present moment. Take note of that. Take note of, call the world what you want, but look around, look at social media, look at everything that we interact with for the most part, and just take note that this world that we live in here, this normal world, doesn't function in the present moment. Instead, it actually transcends the present moment. It bypasses it. Present moment becomes almost invisible here, right? And it operates through time, memories, future obligations, schedules, expectations, relationships, responsibilities, right? It's almost as if we've been handed in the Amazon jungle or wherever you went, we've been handed this beautiful circle, and then we come home and we're expected to like fit it into a square. So what am I saying right now? What I'm saying is that when we experience plant medicine, I mean, and for those of you that have, worked with Sapo, you're experiencing something more present than anything I think that you've ever experienced in your life. And to try to take that and come home to a world that doesn't live in the present moment. Everybody's always goaling for the future. People in our world don't even stop to acknowledge and celebrate anything they've accomplished, right? So we go out there, our phones don't work, and we just sit and we just allow ourselves to just be. And then when we come home, we try to translate that into this non-present. So There's much more that I wrote, but here's what I want to say, and I want to turn it over to Billy. My current thought process with the challenge with plant medicine and integrating it into this world is just that. We're trying to take something that is extremely pure and only exists in the present moment and integrate it into a non-present world. And I know some of you are doing some really good work with things like breath work. Valeria, we know, does a lot of work with yoga. I'm a big fan of transcendental meditation. So if anybody's doing any of that work, and I hope you are, and you ever get a glimmer of something that resembles that pristine present moment experience that you had out there, that's because those techniques that you do here in this world bring you into the present moment where all the magic exists. So my point is that if somebody is struggling with integration, my thought process, Billy, is that what they're struggling with is living in the present moment here. Because when you do get present here and you detach from the past and the future, which I find meditation does for me, and a whole bunch of other things, I don't have any problems with integration. Everything starts to, as I like to say, make sense. So that's my take on this topic that I want to open for discussion right now is I just challenge everybody to recognize that you've experienced the ultimate form of just present moment, present time being, and you're trying to make it integrate into a world that knows nothing about that. Make sense? Bill? E?
Oh, so many thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
That's
do
why
with them.
I stopped reading because I knew that I was going to short circuit somebody. I kept going.
Um, I just want to firstly say thank you to everybody who's here because look how many beautiful people are here. Um, so thank you. And many of you I know, some of you I don't know. And the more we do them, and the more I'm not at the center at the moment, the more new people I meet. So, um, with gratitude. Um, uh, Thinking about some of the things you're saying is like it. The word is the present is in the word, and the gift is that is to be present, and it's in that state of presence that in Vipassana, which Nick just did, we can talk to Nick in a minute what he learned, but they teach you that eternal peace exists in the eternal present, away from craving and aversion, and so your state of being, just the essence of your being, is bliss. It's the divine bliss in your being when you're being, which is being present, just to be now and now and now. And it's in that state of being that you have access to um, the cosmic field, the field of pure intelligence, which exists now and now and now because uh, that's that's creation, and creation is now always. So whether you're in the medicine or whether you're in the real medicine, which is yourself, it always exists now. And within that space of nowness, you can connect to inspiration, creation, abundance, beauty, bliss, because that's where all these things exist. Um, so that's it for me for presence. I see Amy as well. Amy's like a clairvoyant. And for example, like what she'll do is like in tune. Intuition's in tune to be in tune. And what are you in tune with is this cosmic intelligence in the present moment, in the medicine, out of the medicine. And then everything else, like you're saying in this, the world that you return to is actually just an illusion.
Exactly.
It's marketing is an illusion. Just everything's an illusion.
I'm gonna give you guys something for any Alan Watts fans. Anybody know who Alan Watts is? I highly recommend. Joe knows. You guys would love Alan Watts, Watts. He unfortunately is no longer with us, but he's just a genius and he speaks our language. But I'm going to read something that he wrote about the potential chaos that is ensuing with, this world here and why we're needlessly struggling to try to, explain something that's unexplainable to them. Here's what he says. He goes, if you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anyone else. Has anyone ever spent too much time talking? Of course I have, right? In fact, that's why I like to hang out with people like Billy, is Billy has this nice way of like not even telling me, but just like saying, I think you talked. And so if you talk all the time, you'll never hear what anybody else has to say. Therefore, all you'll ever hear, and this is what I see in society, all you'll ever have to talk about is your conversation. And that's all you'll ever hear if you talk all the time. That's not present moment, right? So the same is true for people who think all the time. So just think about how much we think. And remember, you can't control the fact that your brain thinks, it does it without you, but you can control to what degree you participate in your thoughts. That's what thinking is, right? You can look at your thoughts in your brain like clouds passing by in the sky if you choose. So the same as with people that think all the time, the constant chit chat of symbols and images and words inside of our minds. If you do that all the time, you'll find that you have nothing to think about except thinking. That should make you giggle a little bit because that's what we're doing all the time. And that's these people that you're trying to explain ayahuasca to. So just as you have to stop talking to hear what others have to say, Alan Watts says that you have to stop or consider stopping thinking to find out what is actually happening in life. And when I read that, Billy, I just realized that that's what I loved the most about every experience that I've had. And it also helped me realize we talk a lot about like, how many times do I have to go do plant medicine before I don't know, reach some sort of enlightenment or something like that. We talk about it all the time. And I realized that the reason why I'm right now planning to come back at the end of the year, other than to be with these amazing people, is because it's just this amazingly beautiful way of just sitting in that space away from everything. And it's like the same thing that I do when I meditate. I do that every day, but it's what makes it very, very special. It's almost like grandmother protects you in this little pod where you're not participating with anything else. Sure as hell happened when I was on Sapo. Anyway, so this is the idea is that if we can learn in our integration work how to spend more time, and I know a lot of you have wonderful ways of doing that, spend more time living in the present moment and possibly start running everything else through some sort of a filter that determines what we control, what we don't, what matters, what doesn't, what's in support of our goals and dreams and what doesn't. I think we can start really, really having some fun like I've been having. And I want to give you guys some of that. So I want to open the floor for anybody that has anything on their mind to share or ask any questions or even share an experience. The more the merrier. So some of you head nodders, come on in. Just unmute yourself or raise your hand and we'll call on you. You can ask Billy some questions as well. There she goes. Go for it, Amy.
Hi. I just want to say, like, when you say um, stay out of your head and try not to think or try not to be absorbed by your thoughts, Spirit wants me to say that it's easy to say that, but oftentimes when we can't accomplish something, like if we can't stop our mind and we feel obsessed with it, we start to judge ourselves. And Spirit wants to remind everyone that if you can't stop thinking, just notice your thoughts and look at them with no judgment at all whatsoever, and then pretend like you're in a snow globe and your thoughts are the snow, and as they come down they fall to the ground and then they get carried off in a river and then they're away from you. So when you look at them, don't, because some people start to meditate and they get really frustrated because they can't sit still in that space outside of the ayahuasca experience. And so I just wanted to remind people that look at your thoughts, don't judge yourself, and just continue to do it. And it takes time and practice because my meditative practice is like 20 minutes a day, and that as soon as I wake up I do that before I do anything else. So having that practice keeps you in the present moment. That's all
Yeah,
I wanted to say.
that's beautiful the way you acknowledge that. And the reality is that whether anyone here likes it or not, your heart beats, or at least you hope it does. Your brain thinks. Uh, and they do those things with or without you. They're on the unconscious, subconscious level. But like I was saying before, and that's what Amy just helped you with that snow globe visual, is it's just how you decide and choose to participate with them. The funny thing about thoughts, which can be a deterrent for us living in the present, is you have 40 to 70,000 of them in your go through your mind every day. And it's kind of silly if you ever get latched onto one of them to ask yourself, why did I pick that one? Out of the 40 to 70,000 thoughts, right? So if you guys go look up at the sky today, you'll look up and I don't know what your sky looks like today, but you'll notice that the sky is not made up of the clouds, right? The sky is the vast blue. The clouds are your thoughts and they're just passing by and they dissipate, they come and go. So just like Amy said, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to look at it. And for those of you that practice meditation a lot, you know that there's never ever going to be a day that you will not think. But it's just about how you participate with it. Awesome. Who else?
I want to say something.
Hey, Carlos.
Yeah, well, my last retreat was back in August, and I have had ever since a pretty intense integration process. And for me, probably Mother Aya was the source of the gift that Billy was talking about, of the present, of being present. And in my mind, sometimes it gets so complex, these concepts. They are so convoluted and hard to dissect. And at least what has worked for me tremendously is keep it plain and stupid and simple. And just use these analogies with golden nuggets of truth. And I'm going to share three with you. The first one is you are not your thoughts. Even though we have 3,000 thoughts simultaneously, you are not that. And Mother Aya gave me that. When I realized living in the moment was not living in your thoughts, is not your thoughts. If you have a nasty thought about someone, you are not a nasty person. The other one is one cannot be bathed in the river twice because the river is not the same and you're not the same because your thoughts changed you. So, all right, I'm not my thoughts, but my thoughts have the power to change my surroundings. So, the last piece of simple information is rose elephants. The more you think of rose elephants, if I tell you not to think of pink elephants, the only thing you're going to do is think about pink elephants, right? Rose elephants. So trying to combine these three things about the presence and the elephants and me not being my thoughts, I think that keeping those three pretty basic little principles have helped me through meditation to just keep going. Keep going. It doesn't matter if I get distracted. It doesn't matter if I break my streak of meditations and I'm not doing it daily. It just it's easier just to keep going and to keep doing it and trying because I was not the same person who's sitting the medicine for the first time, and I'm not the after the last meditation, I'm not the same person that I was thinking these convoluted thoughts. But through the guideline, it just makes it easier, and the processes I have found more enjoyable because the sky will still be looking the way it looks right now, but my lens, the thing that you were saying about your classes, it's what changes. And at least for me, getting these golden nuggets of simple reality facts and analogies helped me tremendously because my thoughts and my head sometimes are too much. And it's in the seeking of this moment of where there's nothing but me breathing. That's the bridge. To me, that's the real bridge. And just like you, I long to go back to Arkana. I don't know when that is going to be, but I long it because it's the time, the real holiday that I can give to myself to enhance all this meditation and all these thoughts because you have the pleasure and you have the privilege of getting Billy and the team just taking care around you because sometimes it gets nasty. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
That's me. I was just talking to myself right there. I was saying just such wise people in this group. That's what's so amazing. And I wonder if that's part of the process as well as, we just are hearing what it sounds like when people become open and curious. And keep something in mind. What I love what he just said, but this whole concept of what we struggle with here, remember, whatever it is that we see, perceive, and believe here, it's subjective. It's very much been programmed and trained into you to interact the way you are here. So when you go get an experience that gives you a different vantage point, a different perspective upon which to look at the world, when you get home, it's natural that you're going to revert back. Would you spend a week or 2 weeks? You had a profound experience, but I like to look at our world at home as like a 120,000 ton oil tanker that's steaming forward. And like we come home after a week and we're like, hey, we're going to go a different way now. So I love what he said because he's just saying like, I'm not going to put too much thought into it. I'm just going to be okay with being okay. It's great. Nick, I see Nick's got his hand raised.
Yeah, so mine is, I guess, my experience with learning to live in the present moment. The statement Billy said about eternal peace exists in the eternal present was something that really resonated with me. So I did the 10-day Vipassana retreat and I got back 2 weeks ago. And I didn't actually have a breakthrough there until the 7th day. The first 6 days, I was really struggling with my thoughts and constantly focusing on outcomes and thinking about scenarios like if this goes this way in my life, or if this goes that way in my life, or this way in my life, how am I going to deal with that? But
hey,
Nick,
could you do me a favor or do us a favor and just for the sake of people that don't know, explain what that was, that experience?
Vipassana?
Yeah.
It's a 10-day silent retreat. So yeah, it's being in total silence and meditating for 8 hours a day for 10 days straight, without any distractions of technology or talking to anybody, no looking anybody in the eyes, no reading, no writing, just being in the present moment and focusing on your meditation. So it was definitely very challenging. Again, it took me to the 7th day to finally get a breakthrough. I knew it was going to be hard, but I just know I had no idea how hard it was actually going to be. Like those first 6 days, I was like, had many moments of like, I've got to leave. This is too much. I'm just constantly wrapped in my thoughts, and it's driving me crazy. But it was something that I absolutely needed to do, because I just realized that that's what I've been doing for so many years, is just constantly focusing on outcomes and what's it going to be like on this day or that date, or if this happens in my life or that happens in my life. But I kind of had a situation in my life where, going back 2 years ago, my wife went to Arkana by herself, and up till that moment was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, because just being without her for a week was constantly worrying about like, how's she going to come back, and I miss her so much and all these things. But and then this past November, we separated and filed for divorce. And all I wanted to do for those 2.5 months was reconcile with her. So I come out of the Vipassana retreat, and then I called her and we talked all day, and we decided to stop the divorce and try to reconcile. So now I've taken on something else that is probably the biggest challenge of my life. And it's like I'm struggling every day with not focusing on outcomes, because this is what I just learned, is just like how to live in the present moment. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm just constantly thinking about like the next time I'm going to see her, because all we did was just agree to see each other once a month. She's going to fly out and we're going to spend a week together or 4 days together or whatever it is. But it's just kind of ironic that I learn about living in the present moment, and then the day after I come out of the retreat, it's like I take on the most challenging thing I could possibly imagine when it comes to not focusing on outcomes. So if anyone has anything to add to that, I know, Billy, you may. But it's like, wow, it's like maybe I took on something just too soon after the retreat, because I was like doing so well, like in the separation, and we're learning how to work on myself. And it's like, okay, now you're going to take on the biggest challenge. You've got a marathon to run, and you've always struggled with missing her and having her by your side. And now it's okay, you're going to talk to her and you're going to text her, and everything is going great, but you only get to see her once a month. And between those visits, how do you work on not constantly thinking about the next time you're going to see her, and just living in the present moment and like, let it be? It's hard.
It is
That's all.
hard. It is hard, but that's the whole teaching of Vipassana. And that's actually the whole reason why you needed to go. Because the wanting for her is the craving, and the not having her is the aversion. So actually this whole thing is teaching you that to just be. And in that being, like, give yourself the love, and like, do the things that you love to do. Do the things that you enjoy to do right now for yourself. And the love you feel that you do and that you'll enjoy will just amplify itself, that she'll experience. She'll like walk into your field of love, but really you're just being love right now for yourself. But as long as you have like this push pull, wanting or not wanting, then you have the what Gwenka refers to as the misery. And I'm so proud of you as well, Nick, because like honestly, like I know you think a lot. You have like a busy mind, and I can only imagine how hard it would have been, but it's a beautiful thing, and you should be really proud of yourself, actually. So again, just bring yourself back to yourself in the moment, and just keep on doing things that inspire you, and she'll be inspired by you. And I'm doing a Vipassana in 2 weeks as well, so I feel you.
Thank you.
One interesting thing, and Nick, I feel you, because I've been through some tough times like that myself. And in the spirit of this idea of changing the way we look at things, so that the things that we look at change, I just always invite people to acknowledge what their relationship is with the whole idea of labeling something as hard. Because I mean, everything that we know about growth, I always say isn't it mysterious that the God and the universe have placed everything that we desire inconveniently on the other side of a piece of shit? You know, I mean, so I just feel like to a certain degree, we kind of need to learn how to become shit navigators if we want good things. You know, so we put ourselves through voluntarily, you know, put ourselves through uncomfortable situations like you did on this retreat. But the hardest one for us to handle, because of the way we've been programmed, is the one that happens involuntary. You know, it's when something happens and the perception is it happens to us rather than for us. So I always encourage everybody to just recognize that you're the author and the director and the writer and the main character of your movie. So we can always entertain the idea of rewriting the story and the narration. Go, Billy?
Yeah. Well, just thinking about what you said, I was thinking about what Carlos said, which is something similar about thinking about a pink elephant. It's like you can think about what it is that you want, to focus on what you want and let that expand. So if you want goodness, or like, let's say a relationship, and you want like positive, harmonious relationship, then that's your focus daily. And it's not that you won't feel or have like other things come in, but it's like, how fast can you bring yourself back to that and let that energy expand? I also wanted to ask Morena what she thought about this, because I know that she and Malcolm do things with relationship coaching and things. Got anything to say?
Yeah, I do.
She got a little baby in her arms there.
Yeah, she just came to say hello. Her name is actually Aya. And we got her when we got back from the retreat and when we came back home to Tulum. So this is Aya, everyone. I'm experiencing right now, I'm just feeling a lot of joy and humor in this conversation because I feel like this is such a beautiful mirror, what I'm experiencing right now, the conversations that are happening. I've been experiencing a lot of rupture since the retreat, and I'm on this call right now just like having so many aha moments just through all of your reflections and everything that you guys are all sharing about your own experiences and just talking about the present moment. It's been challenging for me as well to be in the present moment, especially I've been a lot in my mind and a lot of just trying to understand why so much has been falling apart, but mostly just falling away. And it's been difficult for me to stabilize that and realizing that all of this has been created in a sense by me so that I can see the parts of myself that I couldn't see. And something I've been explaining to my clients through this process is that I also believe that sometimes as we're integrating this new part of ourselves, being in that victim consciousness is sometimes necessary, you know, in order for us to be like, wow, I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe this happened. This is so painful. Finally giving ourselves the acknowledgement and the recognition of the pain and being able to hold ourselves through that. And then once we've finally been able to like validate our experience that it is difficult, now we're able to move into a space of, okay, well, what do I want to do with all this? Now that I feel like my heart has been cracked open, I'm feeling so much sensation in the body. What do I want to do with all of this? And this is where we get to shift into this creator consciousness of no longer something that is a lot more empowering for us, where we're realizing, wait a second, like I'm not a victim in this. This is not happening to me. This is really happening for me. And so how can I step into this energy? And so I'm sharing a little bit of my own process, and I want to share this with you because I believe that us going through the rupture is super important in our process. And once we allow ourselves to just feel and stop trying to control or try to get ourselves to a positive state as if like that is the constant goal, we've putting ourselves like feeling good and happy and blissful on this pedestal that we're trying to constantly achieve and move towards. And we're taking away from the beauty of experiencing like grief and sadness and pain. And how can we find beauty in those moments? How can we find acceptance and liberation and freedom and enjoyment in those denser energies? So I don't know, this is what's coming through for me right now. I'm not sure if it's really answering your question, but just thank you for putting this call together, because it's confirming a lot for me. And you guys have been talking a lot about listening, and I noticed that that's something very deep in my own gene keys of like, there's a lot of the gifts for me is in listening, and I have this desire of always wanting to challenge people's thoughts and wanting to, yeah, just have a back and forth conversation and share my own input, and just sitting here listening and like really being in that. I've been receiving so many gifts from that. So thank you.
Actually, listening is always happening in the present, which is what this is about. Also, two other things. I was having a conversation about this kind of thing with Erin Alexander, who some of you may know. And we were talking about like going with the flow of things, or like the natural stream of life. And then we were talking about swimming against the natural flow, which is swimming up the stream is when it gets hard. And he said, yeah, but when you swim up the stream for a little bit, you also get like strong, you get big lats, you get better, like more stamina, etc. And the point of this is like you're saying, is to honor these elements, but also to know how important it is to have that swimming up the streamness, to strengthen yourself, to strengthen your being, to become more resilient, to become more empathetic. And the other thing is you're talking about falling apart, and I don't know if some of you are familiar with the Japanese concept of kintsugi, but the idea is like if a plate breaks, then for example, anything porcelain breaks, you basically they put it back together and they seal it with gold. And so what you have is like a bowl or a plate or something which is more beautiful than it was before it broke. And that's one of the other opportunities that we get, is to break apart and then put it back together with gold. And it's even more beautiful than it was before. Unless you leave it smashed on the floor, obviously, and then it's going to be what it is. But all of this, like all of these experiences as well, the learning and the honoring and the feeling, is actually just, all of it is returning us back home to ourselves through whichever avenue that takes. Returning us back to understand love, to feel love, to understand who we are as children of love, which is something I probably say in every call. So, repeating myself.
Yeah, it's interesting for those of you that have been on multiple trips, have you ever felt like when you went on your next trip, it felt like you were coming home? Isn't that interesting? That's what I love about this, is I feel like this mastermind that we have once a month, I consider it an unfair advantage in my life, in the sense that it gives me great joy and pleasure, and I get so much out of it. So that's why I share it, and I invite people not to like go to the jungle and do ayahuasca, but just to come meet you guys and just be in this right here. Here's something cool, and then we'll go to Josh. Here's another thing that Watts says. He goes, Watts emphasizes that while thinking is a valuable tool, so he acknowledges that, it becomes detrimental when we allow it to overshadow the direct experience that's taking place in life. So there's nothing wrong with thinking until we get tethered to it, to the point where it overshadows what's actually happening. So the idea is like, you don't have to go around just feeling like, duh, I'm in the present moment, I'm not going to think about anything. right? Of course we're going to think. It's what our brains do. We only control 5% of that. But we do have a say in what degree we allow our thoughts to overshadow the actual experience taking place in life. Joshua, what a cool name.
Got it. Okay. Hi everybody. This is my first time coming in. My retreat was the 1st to the 8th of December. So it's been a lot going on. It's been like preparing for the retreat. I pretty much knew that afterwards I was going to have a lot of work to do. I knew that it wasn't going to be easy, but when you get back, it's a lot more than you actually thought it was because now you're on the side of, you know, like everything is like everything that you thought you like knew or you think you knew or whatever it was that you thought before is nothing like what actually is on the other side of, the retreat. So that happens, dealing with fear of anxiety, my anxiety, fear of failure, fear of deadlines and just a lot of like the fears that I had before that made me really uneasy. I had to kind of like I felt like I was going back to how I was before the retreat. And when I got a chance to just take a moment and step back and say, okay, we got to like pause on things. What are some things that we can do here to improve these things? And what did we learn from our retreat that we can kind of merge and one, be present, right? Because that happens to be a never-ending theme here. Being present, being in the moment, stop being afraid of what the things that didn't even happen yet and the things that have already happened, letting that go and just being here now and seeing what can we do now for us in this current moment to get a hold of ourselves and understanding that we get a hold of ourselves now, that can help get us through the next 5 minutes. We can help us get in control of the next 5 minutes and the next 5 minutes, and just making gradual progression instead of making these big leaps of faith, um, thinking that we're due something or whatever we expect is supposed to happen, automatically. So that created a space of like just me getting back to, creating a morning routine, centering myself for the day, doing some breathing exercises, writing things down. And these are things that I've done before, but after the retreat, I started realizing how much importance they have because you can't control everything, but you control the things that you can. And if you have bad habits and you want to improve them, it's a certain amount of work that you have to put into uh, asking yourself certain questions. Like self-awareness is very important. Why am I doing this? What are the causes of these things? So me just going down the rabbit hole and understanding why I'm doing certain things or repeating the same behaviors, it's a good first step. And then, if I have familiar things that I used to do that help me grab a hold of myself, implementing that along with new things. But one of the things that I could say, what I could say uh, helped me the most was just stop feeling like something's due to me, like I'm entitled to, um, you know, improvements without doing the work. So that's definitely, resulted in me putting more time aside to journal, for example, and take action on a daily basis, setting a daily goal. Like I said, you can't control everything, but setting the intention for the day. When you get home at night, seeing how your day went, following up, were you able to, reach that goal, for example, staying focused or not spending too much time on your phone? How was that? Um, and if that seemed to be a problem, you go back and say, hey, this was a problem because, and now you have something more to work with. There's more work than we think we do. So you might have a goal, and now you have a sub goal, and then you have a sub goal, and these failures turn into successes because little by little you're starting to realize that in order to get to this big goal, there's a bunch of things that have to be impacted before you even get to that big goal, and it gives you something to do. It gives you a lot of homework. It gives you a daily objective, daily goals, and stuff like that to pay attention to, and give yourself something to track. It gives you something to do. And as the day goes by, you start uncovering things that you didn't know about yourself. And that's kind of where I am right now. Stop feeling like the results are due to me automatically. Taking it a day at a time, being in the moment, and taking note of good habits, bad habits, good things, bad things, and then learning how I can work with it. So that's really what I've noticed is like an integration. And then I've had very that's just one part of it, but the other half of it would be during my retreat. I had like a vision. I had a few visions, and one of them was like a premonition of the death of a family member. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably just me under the medicine. Probably not even, until it happened, right? It happened. So I had a vision of my cousin being shot, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's just me. And then, was it 2 weeks now? He got shot and killed. And I'm like, oh my God. So there's so much work to be done. Now I'm doing my integration work, and then I'm dealing with a death. And then I have more of those premonitions. And then somebody came to me, I was talking to him. He was like, hey, I see this happening. And once he brought that up, I'm like, oh man, that's the second premonition. How did he even know that? So I'm dealing with, the retreat and the integration, dealing with the passing, and then I'm dealing with, I guess, fear of what might be coming to the family next. And so it's been like a really, really rough time. I feel like I'm dealing with the weight on my shoulders, and now I'm dealing with, things that didn't even happen as yet. So that's why I'm just trying to take my own advice and take things a day at a time and not overwhelm myself, and just focus on what I can personally change rather than sitting there being worried 24/7, So it's been a lot. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but it's definitely been a lot,
You are a part of this family now, dude. Like there's no rambling when you're speaking from the heart, So I just want to, from one person that has experienced the darkest of darkness in life to another, you are extremely brave, and what you're doing is what most people struggle to do, and that's you're taking radical responsibility for your life anyway. So you're a superhero, bro. So you just got to figure out how to keep going. And from my experience, I'm a little bit older than you. I'm 53. Stay in contact with like-minded people that give a shit about you, and you're gonna move on to you have powers that are beyond measure, and it's scary to recognize that. Everybody here knows that. Amy knows that, right? So when you start to recognize that you're powerful beyond measure, it can be frightening. And everybody here is, but you're just realizing it now. So enjoy the ride. And remember, if anybody here is ever freaking out in life, we tend to. Just remember, the smartest people in the world say that there's a 1% chance that all of this is real. 1%, right? So maybe we can also just kind of like just enjoy ourselves every now and then, Easier said than done, better done than said. Go ahead, Marina.
It's Marina and Malcolm. And I
saw that sweet little kiss. Malcolm came and he says, baby, you spoke so well. And he gave her a kiss.
I actually missed it. And I want to apologize for missing a big part of today's call. I was at the gym and I wanted to make my way down here. And I want to first, offer my condolences to Joshua, to you and your family, bro. When I saw that message come in our WhatsApp, I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And I don't know if I remember, because I know you shared a lot with me with your experience, and I'm pretty sure you shared that with me. And so when I saw it come up, I was like, oh my God, And so just my deepest sympathies and condolences to you and your family, brother. Sending you lots of love, man, and all prayers. And I want to say hello to the whole Arkana family. It's cool to be here. Hello, Billy. It's nice to meet you, Dr. JC Dornick, and familiar faces that were actually with us at the retreat when we came. So cool to see all of you. And the theme today was presence and being the present, and something that's been really, really key for me. We're coming back. We were at Arkana. It's going to be December. Yeah, December. And if I can be honest, every time I sit with the medicine, it's very confusing for me. Like the whole week is just very confusing. And for me, the integration or the work really happens after the ceremony. And that's not entirely true. I mean, there's parts to this. So when I came to when I came to Arkana this year, literally 4 days before, I got hit with dengue fever. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with dengue fever. It's a fever you catch from a mosquito that bites you. And I've caught a lot of things in life, and dengue was probably the worst one. And one night I thought I was gonna die. It's horrible, horrible. And even Marina, I remember she's like looking at me, and I was going through it, and she's like, "Hey, are you sure that we can do the journey to Peru?" And I looked at her and I said, "We are going. We are going." There was no doubt in me. I said, "We got it. We're doing the journey. We're going there." And it was throughout that whole process, me, one thing that was very activated in me was definitely my nervous system. I was in constant state of survival during those few days. And I had these little cues that could remind me that, hey, like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Namely, the family at Arkana letting me know that, hey, like, we got you. You're going to be okay. Just come down here, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be fine. And interestingly enough, I'm surprised. Well, not much of a surprise. One night with the ceremony, and the next day, all symptoms were gone. And which is pretty crazy because Western medicine says there's no cure to dengue, but then you go down and sit with these ancestral medicines, and it cleans you up. But one thing that I've come to notice during the ceremony for me is this sort of constant going in survival and then coming back to safety, survival and safety. And every time that my nervous system goes in survival while in ceremony, it's because I'm either allowing myself to process something, or the medicine is showing me something that is unhealed or unresolved within me. And it's giving me that opportunity to look at it. And really, since our last ceremony, I've been on this journey of better understanding my nervous system. Because I believe that the key to presence, or to being in the present moment, is the nervous system. If I don't learn how to regulate or strengthen my nervous system, then I'm constantly going to go by default in survival. And if I'm in survival, I just can't be here. I'm either lost in the past or expecting things to happen in the future. And so my whole process of integration for me since I came to Arkana in December was this like deep understanding of this part of my physical being, which is the nervous system. And so I just love how, when I first started exploring the medicine, I thought it was all about, being up there. But if the medicine did anything for me, is bring me down here and really here, right? And so, yeah, it's been an interesting journey of integration, one that has been incredible for me. And I'm still not sure I'm still not sure what I'm meant to learn. I'm letting go of any expectations still after our ceremony. But what I do know is that there's now this deep relationship that I'm building with my own nervous system. And the more that I can cultivate, and the more that I can be intimate with this aspect of my physicality, the more that I can find myself in the present moment. Because if anything, when I'm in ceremony, the medicine is showing me where I still don't feel safe within myself, if that makes any sense, right? And so I have then to bring safety where I still don't feel safe within myself. And the more that I can create safety and space inside of me, the more I will find myself in the present moment, the more I can be here now and nowhere else. So, yeah.
And you guys are people that live with each other and love each other. That's pretty fun.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty fun couple right there.
Yeah. and we got this baby coming out of
now you have baby Aya. So
Maybe Aya. Aya's okay.
I'm going to share something, and then I'll turn it to Bill. Just in case I forget, I just want everybody to know how much I love and respect and appreciate all of you. I sit in a world where I interact with a lot of human beings, and for the most part, they're all sleepwalking through life. So whether you're going through struggle or not, I just want you to know how much I appreciate being with people that are alive and willing to experience the sometimes scary life. So I would love you guys to read this whole thing that I did about not thinking, but I'm going to share one last thing, and then I'll perfectly tee up Billy with this. Billy will like this. So one of the things that Alan Watts says, because you can understand all this stuff, but if you don't know how to practice it, like Malcolm was just saying, I always say that learning is nothing more than a distraction in the absence of action, right? So we can just like walk around saying, I know a bunch of stuff, but if we can't put it into play, it's a waste. So Watts says this, he says, the easiest way to stop thinking and be in the present moment is to focus on something that has no meaning. Now that could be challenging for you, so I'm going to help you. The easiest way to stop thinking and be in the present moment is to focus on something that has no meaning. This caused me to reflect on something that all of you have experienced that have been to Arkana, and that, and this is something I experience in transcendental meditation as well. Those things that you were told to do when your mind went astray, right? The ikiros, your breathing, your posture, your intentions, right? So I started to say, so is that what it's like to, think about something that has no meaning? So remember, thoughts always rush in because that's what thoughts occasionally do. Yet by focusing on your breath, Billy and Valeria always think of me anytime somebody ever goes, huh. And I told Billy, anytime I ever hear somebody even say the word breath, I think of him because he just always says, relax and enjoy your breath. And I was just thinking about like, everybody's laughing because they're like, yeah, that's what Billy says. But thank God he says that because there's an example of something that you could think about and just enjoy, and that is your breath. And I just noticed that it's impossible for me to focus and enjoy my breath, Billy, without being in the present moment.
So I was actually going to talk about that, which you knew clearly, which is enjoy your breath. And it in Vipassana for the first 3 days is called Anapana. For the first 2 days, you just focus on the tip of your nose to concentrate the mind. And for 1 day, you just focus on this space here, basically as the breath falls in and out of your nose. So just really bring yourself into the present moment, which is where the breath was happening, obviously. If it was happening 20 minutes ago, you'd all be dead. So it's always happening now. And when it's not happening, you'll be dead. So that's it. And I always say like enjoy your breath. Enjoy, the word enjoy is enjoy. Two words. So enjoy your breath. Enjoy your breath, enjoy. And as you breathe, you cultivate joy. But if you're struggling not to be present, which is really circling back to what this integration talk is about, enjoy your breath, enjoy. And it will bring you, the more you focus on that, it will bring you more presence. And with regard to regulating your nervous system, you can also do that through the breath, right? So I've actually just put a link because Valeria will be doing a breathwork class. Lex turns up to like all of them. She's top student. It's donation based, and yeah, and you'll be regulating your nervous system with Himalayan Kriya and pranayama, which is beautiful. So you can enjoy your breath there. And also the regulation and coming back to the self, to see the self away from the disturbance is, I listen to Swami Satchidananda a lot. He's like, I think of him like my granddad. And what he says is like, I mean, there's a whole story to this, but he basically says like, when you look into a lake and the lake is moving, what do you see? And the answer obviously is you see a disturbance, you see a disturbed reflection of yourself. If you were looking in the lake and the lake was disturbed, you'd see a disturbed reflection of yourself. So the more stillness you find within yourself, the more you still your consciousness, your energy, just your being, the more you will see yourself as you truly are, which is as a child of love. I'll say it again, because that's who you are. And just lastly, because that's one thing, enjoy your breath. Maybe as part of your guys' integration, you can challenge yourself to do some breath work. Obviously, come to this breath work class if you want. But another part is I went for a walk with a lady. She's the youngest lady to walk around the world. She actually holds the world record for example, she walked in the world record time from Sydney to Perth. And I went on a wild food walk with her. She was teaching me about all the different plants you can and can't eat. And the first thing that we did was take off our shoes. And what I noticed by taking off my shoes is how mindful I became of every footstep that I took. Because if I just trampled through the forest, I would hurt my feet, or I would stand on something that hurt my foot. I became very mindful. I started walking very softly and feeling everything. And then I'd been to like Buddhist mindful walking. I'm going to call them classes, but they're like done these practices. And you really like feel every footstep you take. It becomes very mindful. And what I realized was the beauty of this practice was the more you learn mindful walking, the more you walk mindfully. And so you train your mind to walk mindfully with every footstep you take, with layers of consciousness. So I'll challenge you to do this as well, is to go find somewhere, take your shoes off, and go do some mindful walking somewhere and cultivate mindfulness, which is cultivating presence. And as you do that, you'll find more and more joy around you, because that's your actual natural state of being. And Joshua, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but Joshua, just one thing about what you said, because you covered actually, funnily, a lot of the integration, the 8 Ps, like pause or pilgrimage. And pilgrimage can be to your journal. It can be to like an altar if you have one. It can be to watch the sunset, pilgrimage to the sunset. But wherever you go, choose somewhere, go there, spend some time with yourself, with your heart in stillness, and take a pause from the chaos in the world. Take a pause from yourself. And the other one's obviously pursue your passion with purpose, pursue your passion, laugh, don't forget to laugh, and do something to be of service. And in all of these different ways, you're going to cultivate more and more joy daily. And thank you, everybody, for coming. Really, blessings. That's all. Oh, you're welcome.